This program was brought to you by Mayonnaise. May your thirst be quenched with Mayonnaise from Tasty Boy.
G'day and welcome to the Retro Tinker Cobra Convergence special. My name is Nate, aka the Retro Tinker. For today's episode, we're going to be fixing up this 1983 Cobra Commander figure that was given to me by my mate Phil from Treasures for Trigger. Thanks, buddy. Phil is a dead set legend, and I'll put a link to his channel in the description. If you haven't seen his videos before, you should absolutely check out Phil's toy adventures in Japan. Also, before we get started, I thought I should give a quick shout out to Brian, aka Hooded Cobra Commander 788. Brian recently announced the retirement of his YouTube channel after an absolutely incredible 10 years. I'll put a link to his channel in the description as well. There's so much great content, I've barely scratched the surface, so congratulations Brian on all you've achieved, and thank you for allowing me to be part of this collaboration. Now, from one Hooded Cobra Commander, back to the other. So as you can see, this figure's in pretty rough shape. His mask is badly torn here, with quite a few pieces missing, even on the back. His left thumb is snapped off, and he looks like he's lost a few rounds to Johnny Cage, if you know what I mean.
Johnny Cage wins.
Other than that, he's in pretty good shape. His joints are all nice and stiff. He's got a little bit of paint rub here and there, but nothing that I think warrants a repaint.
Pretty good shape. I'm exquisite.
Sorry mate, I meant no offense. Just pointing out a few areas that need tidying up, that's all.
I'll tidy you up from the face of the earth if you don't shut up and fix me.
Yes sir, right away. Hail Cobra. So yeah, we've got 3 things to fix. Let's get to work. Alright, to repair his hood, first I'm going to super glue up the tear here. Then I've got this kintsu glue here, which is like a rubbery putty that stays flexible when it sets, so the repair will hopefully be as flexible as the original part. I've used this stuff once before in a street shark repair and it worked really well, so I'm pretty confident it'll work. Funnily enough, I had no idea that this hood was actually flexible until Phil sent this to me. I thought it was a solid plastic like this one. The original is just so much better. Anyway, let's get to work. Super glue's holding. Next I'm going to knead up some of this kintsu glue, and I'll push a bunch of it up inside there to reinforce behind it, and then build it down so that I can sculpt the new details of his hood. I'll have to put a bit around the back as well, just to fix up that little bit there. Yeah, let's give it a go. Just using a bit of isopropyl here to help smooth it out and get it into the cracks. It's a little messy, probably should have worn gloves, but I think it's going to work for me. Alright, it's not looking too flash at the moment, it's a bit messy, and when it's set I'll be able to sand it off a bit smoother and hopefully keep some of that detail. Hopefully it'll look a bit better than it did before. Obviously I'll have to paint it afterwards. I did manage to smear it into some of the other smaller cuts and cracks that it had in there, so hopefully by the time it's all sanded up it should look pretty good. So I think I will quit while I'm ahead here and come back tomorrow. Okay, the fix for his thumb and his pelvis are pretty much the same process. I will drill a hole into his thumb and into there. I'll glue a piece of this paper clip in, then I will sculpt some detail around it with the Milliput. The thumb's fairly straightforward, there's not a whole lot of detail there. The pelvis is a bit more complicated because there's a bit more of a shape involved. Here's one of a different figure, and you can see that it's got to come around the corner and stay nice and straight there. It'll probably be a little fiddly, but I reckon we'll get some sort of result. Let's see what happens. The pelvis fix, I've kind of given the paper clip a little bit more of a shape to it. I'll give it something a little bit extra for the Milliput to cling to. That should do the trick. I think it'll work. Let's find out. Well, that looks like it's got a chance of working. We'll get the Milliput and we'll yeah, get sculpting. Well, that's just a quick little job there. I'll just have to let it set, and by the time I sand it up and give it a bit of paint, I think it'll look really good. Now let's get on to the tricky bit, that pelvis. That's a pretty good start, I think. I'll let it set for a bit and then I can come back with the craft knife and kind of shave it away, sand it. I reckon we'll get something pretty close. Of course, you know the rules. When you've got leftover Milliput, making a little robot head is mandatory. Well, I'm going to leave everything overnight to set, but in the meantime, let's hear a word from our sponsor. Don't go anywhere, we'll be right back.
Are you tired of salads being a dry ordeal? Well, why don't you wash it down with an ice-cold glass of mayonnaise? The only soda on the market with that clean, crisp taste of mayonnaise, mayonnaise is the perfect beverage for any meal. Plus, mayonnaise is an excellent source of protein with the equivalent of 3 eggs a glass. Mayonnaise gives you that slow-release energy to keep you on your feet whether you're pumping iron or on the job. And if you're watching your weight, why not try all new Mayonnaise Zero? It's got all that mayo flavor with none of the sugar. Mayonnaise. Mayo thirst be quenched with mayonnaise. From Tasty Boy.
Alright, I left all this overnight and it's set quite nicely. You can see everything's nice and hard, ready to be sanded and shaped. The kintsu glue set, it's nice and flexible, so hopefully once I give it a sand up it should look pretty good. Alright, after a quick sand with some wet and dry paper, that's actually looking not too bad. It's not perfect, it was never going to be perfect, to be honest, but it's looking like it might be passable. It'll look a lot better probably when I put some paint on it. And despite adding all that extra bulk up on the inside with the kintsu glue, his head does still fit. It's a very tight fit, so I'm not sure whether I should trim a bit off or just leave it. It's loosening up as I twist it now, so maybe I'll just leave it alone. Anyway, we'll put this aside for the moment and I'll sand up the other bits. Well, there we go, that's not looking too bad. It's probably a bit thicker there in the middle than the original one was. The legs are a little bit tight, but as far as I'm concerned, that's good enough for me. Took quite a bit of shaping and sanding. I had to do a lot off camera because it's just a bit too fiddly to look around the camera here. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Well, now that the hard part's done, I suppose it's time for paint. Alright, may as well just start with the easy one first. This part's going to be a little bit trickier because I'll have to tint up some paint, but yeah, let's see how we go. Actually, just straight out of the bottle, over the top of that black rubber, it's looking pretty good. Like, I'll be interested to see what it looks like after a couple of coats of that. I might be able to just do his whole head with this stuff because it's quite thinned down. Yeah, we'll see what it looks like. I'm curious. Yeah, you can see the difference here going over the top of a lighter color. This one here, I'm definitely gonna have to darken it to try and get it to match the original plastic, but having a light coat of blue over this probably won't hurt it anyway. Yeah, so that is interesting. You can definitely see the darker patch there. We'll see what happens after another coat. I think I'm just going to go with this. After two coats, you can see like it is darker than the rest of it, but if you look at the plastic on the rest of him, due to its age and exposure to sun, the color's a little bit mottled anyway, and I actually don't mind that. So I'm just going to give his entire head a coat of this, and I reckon it'll look pretty good. Obviously I'll paint around the eyes, I don't want to touch them, but yeah, I think it's going to look good. Obviously that stuff's quite a bit darker than that original one, but now I'm curious after seeing what happened to the other one, what if I go over the top with some of this lighter stuff? Fun experiment, let's find out. That actually worked really well. It's like it's not exact, but by the time I blended the paint out a little bit, and if you put it up next to the legs, it doesn't stand out all that much at all. I'm happy with that. I'm just gonna leave that as is. Here I was thinking that was going to be a massive hassle, yeah, and it all just went really well. Gotta love that. Happy days. And the face repair's not looking too bad either. At a glance, I think it's fairly passable. Now we'll just finish them off with some satin varnish. Alright, all that's left to do now, I guess, is to put him back together with a nice new O-ring. I have put new O-rings in a bunch of Joes, and the only time I ever have trouble with it is when it's on camera. And there we have it. I think he's come together pretty good, all things considered. How you feeling about it, buddy?
Very well done, Mr. Retro Tinker. You've earned yourself a stay of execution today. Only today.
Thank you, sir. Anyway, you ready for your glamour shots?
Only always.
Thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this episode, please leave a like, subscribe, comment, give the old algorithm a tickle, I'd appreciate it. If you'd like to see more Cobra Convergence content, there's something happening every day of July. You can find the full schedule and list of participants here at hcc788.com. I'll put a link in the description. Again, thanks for watching this video, and I hope I see you in the next one. Cobra!